Hey, welcome back. This is Adventures with Dr. Joe. Welcome back. This is Adventures with Dr. Joe. I've had this 20-inch spiral cutter head grizzly thickness planer for quite a few years, and I've noticed now we're starting to get a few little grooves in the wood that I pass through, so I think it's time to rotate the cutter heads. This has a spiral cutter head, which has these carbide cutters. They have 4 sides, and once you start to get any nicking or grooving, you just can loosen them, turn them a quarter turn, realign them, and you're basically back in business. They have a long longevity because they have 4 distinct cutting surfaces with each one. Let's take the dust collection off. First thing, unplug your machine. Okay, so I've unplugged it. Now we're going to loosen these 10mm screws holding the dust collection in place, and then we're going to take this guard off. So I'm going to loosen all these up, move this out, and come back and take this off. So there are 3 screws on top, machine screws, and there are 3 screws in the front. I've already taken the front ones off. We're going to take these off. This is the dust shroud. There it is. Now we're going to take these 6 screws off the top. Again, they're 10mm machine screws, and that'll expose the cutter head. So I put all the screws in this magnetic tray for safekeeping, and we'll just take the last couple screws out. There we go. And again, if you haven't already, unplug the machine, super important. Look at this spiral cutter head. It has all of these individual carbide teeth, but only one of the edges is basically used currently for cutting, so we're going to rotate each one of these 90 degrees. So the first thing I did is mark the corner of each one of these, because then we're going to rotate it, and I'm going to rotate them all in the same direction. We're going to go counterclockwise. So this dot is going to go up here. So we'll loosen these up. It takes a Torx T20. These are all pretty darn tight. Okay, we're going to start here. This is the T20. Okay, loosened it. Just a couple words of caution. Be sure that the bit that you're loosening it with is perpendicular to this, so you don't want to strip it. And then once you rotate it, or once you've loosened it, then you can use a screwdriver, get it right in position, and then tighten it back, again, perpendicular to the cutter head. If you do this, don't drop that screw. The undersurface has a little bit of buildup. Just want to be certain that that doesn't get under any of the corners. So when you take the screw out, all the way out, don't drop it, although you'll find it. I've dropped a few of these. And you look at the undersurface of this, you can see it's got sawdust on 2 of the corners. You don't want that underneath this cutter because you're going to rotate it and it might be off. So clean that off the cutter, then replace the cutter. So I'm actually taking every single screw off out of the head to take the cutter off, to take all the cutters off and wipe them, because I don't want any of that sawdust to get underneath there and throw it off at all. Yeah, let's just look at another one just to show you that. Yeah, see that sawdust there? Wipe it off. Now it's nice and clean. Blow it off. Rotate the cutter. Put the screw back in. Tighten it up. There is probably a certain torque specific for this, but I'm just making them really secure but not breaking those screws. So I wiped them with the sponge, but sometimes they're even a little more difficult to get that clean. There it goes. So I just rub it on a little sanding block just to be sure it's perfectly clean before I put it back. Again, I don't want anything underneath that could just change its geometry at all, because that'll lead to a linear groove or something like that in the planed surface, which we don't want. And again, once I take that cutter out, I'm going to really brush it off with this stainless steel wire brush to be sure that there's nothing that's going to interfere with the placement of this, because I want this perfectly flush with the spiral cutter head. Then we'll just put it back into position and then be certain that it's secured. Okay, so I've removed every single one of these, cleaned the undersurface of it, rubbed it on an abrasive, basically a sandpaper block with a stainless steel wire brush, cleaned the area so it sits in there perfectly, put it in there and tightened them up and checked them all to be sure they're perfectly tight. And you can see it's a beautiful spiral cutter head. I mean, it's just a magnificent piece of machining. Now basically it's time to put the lid back on, put the cover on, put the dust collection on, and fire it up. So the first thing is to put this cover on. And again, we've got 6 of these 10mm machine screws. And then we're going to put the dust collection back, the dust collector hood back on, and then we'll plane some wood in here and see how smooth it is. Okay, so I've jointed this piece of mahogany. Now we're going to run it through the thickness planer. Here we go. Okay, this piece of wood is very, very smooth. No grooves, no ridges. I think our thickness planer is going to be good for a long time. If this was helpful, please click thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Thank you.